Hi everyone and welcome to another episode of Why Jamaica. Today I'm going to talk about a topic that I do get a lot of questions for, which is the difference between traveling in Jamaica and living in Jamaica. I'm sure that you guys are also interested to know more about how it is to live over here in this beautiful island and what are the differences between traveling here for a short amount of time or living here for a long period of time. So of course, living in Jamaica can be a little less romantic than traveling on the island. When you're traveling here, of course, you can get to enjoy all of those beautiful places and maybe do things that you wouldn't do in your own hometown. But when you live in here, it's a bit different because of course you want to indulge and be part of the culture and be part of what's happening in the country, and of course you have other obligations. So one of the main differences when we're talking about traveling and living in Jamaica is definitely the clothing and what you wear. So when you're traveling in Jamaica, you would probably be wearing more of like bathing suits most of the time, get basically dressed up for the beach in any situation, which is perfectly fine. But when you're living in Jamaica, you will have to be wearing appropriate attire, especially if you're going to, small businesses, supermarkets, pharmacies, places like that. Especially if you're going to government offices, you have to wear appropriate attire over there, otherwise they won't let you in. Another significant difference is, of course, the communication with your family and friends. So when you're traveling in Jamaica, most of the people take it as a vacation opportunity, an opportunity to maybe disconnect with everything, stay a bit away from everyone and just take the time for yourself to have fun and relax. But when you're living in here, of course, you would want to keep up with, communication with your family and friends, and you have to adjust yourself maybe to the time difference that you have between your hometown to wherever you live right now. So just adjust yourself based on availability time of your family and friends. But it's definitely something that you would have to put as a priority: the speed of life in Jamaica. Now, when you're here on vacation, most of the time you wouldn't mind if the regular things would take a little bit more time, if you have to wait an extra 15 minutes for your food, or if you're just doing one activity throughout the day and that's it. But when you actually live in Jamaica, you have to basically adjust yourself to the island time, which is sometimes a bit slower than maybe countries that go in a much more faster pace. And it is something that you do have to bear in mind. A lot of people find themselves frustrated because they weren't prepared or ready for it. But in the end of the day, Jamaica is much more chill and relaxed than other places. You can notice it by the way people act or the way people behave between each other. But in the end of the day, to me, it's just a different type of lifestyle where you're able to appreciate the moment itself and not be rushing to the next moment. So you have to just adjust yourself. The things here might be a bit slower than what you are used to in your home country. When you're a tourist in Jamaica, of course, you get all of the attention and hospitality, and people definitely give you a feeling like you are invited and will try to assist you as they can. When you live in Jamaica, they will try to do the same. They will help you and assist you, but in the end of the day, the bottom line, they will definitely treat you as a local, and there are some things that you might have to experience or understand by yourself, which is fine. It's part of the experience in living somewhere else. But you just have to remember, when you're tourists, people will be more catering to you. When you are here living, you have to do that effort by yourself sometimes. If you don't understand certain things that they assume that maybe you should understand because you live here, you have to take that step and try to get a better explanation or better idea of what is happening. But again, you would have to come up with that confidence with yourself and overall to just be able to represent yourself in front of people. Another thing about the local language, so as you knew, or if you watched my last episodes, the official language in Jamaica is English, but the spoken language is Patois, okay? And the Patois has a lot of different types of terms that you would learn while you're living here or traveling here, but there is also a lot of slangs and trends that come with the language. So when you're traveling and living in Jamaica, that's a completely different story. When you're traveling here, people would mainly use the most common phrases just to kind of, communicate with you. But when you're actually living in the island, locals would expect you to be aware of what's happening in the country. If it's like specific trends or slangs that are coming in the language, or different things that's happening in the country at the moment and stuff like that. So just bear that in mind. People will approach you as a local. This difference is really depending on what type of person you are, but most of the time when people traveling in a country, they don't really get too interested in the local news of what's happening in the country. So if you choose to live in Jamaica, you definitely want to be involved and aware and up to date to what's happening in the country. Things are running really fast here, as much as people want to think it's maybe a slow-paced country, but still a lot of things happening here. And you want to have your opinion, because in the end of the day, when you small talk with people and where you meet your friends at work, these are the things that people will talk about, what's happening in the country. Jamaicans are super involved in everything that's happening, from the smallest situation to the biggest one, so you definitely want to be a part of that. Another advantage, which is also a big difference between traveling and living in Jamaica, when you travel here, most of the time you will end up paying, of course, the full price for activities, attractions, accommodations, and almost everything, especially if you use different currency than Jamaican currency. But when you actually live here, you have the opportunity to enjoy local discounts. There are lots of business places, attractions, and other restaurants or places like that that would be offering you discount for locals. Of course, you have to find a way to prove your residency here, and you can do it by different ways, but yeah, that's just an advantage that you can get some discounts when you're here. Major difference, of course, is the currency that you would be using here in Jamaica. So when you're traveling, there are a lot of tourists that for some reason insist to use US currency. They might think that they would be able to get better rates with it, but in the end of the day, if you would watch my video about tips in traveling to Jamaica, you would know that the best is to use local currency here. So if you are living in Jamaica, it's definitely a must to be using local currency to most of your transactions. Of course, there will be places you might have to use US currency, but in the end of the day, it would be more financial to you is to get to know the local currency and to get to know the coins, the notes and everything, so you'll be able to just pull whatever you need and don't take too long, or show people around you like you don't know what's the worth of the money that you're taking out. So definitely a huge difference knowing the currency that you are using. Very important thing that you can definitely say it's a huge difference between traveling and living in the island is budgeting your living. When you're traveling in Jamaica, you're here for some amount of time and you're here to enjoy. So you're willing to spend money and do this tour and buy this souvenir and get this beer and buy and eat in that fancy place or whatever. And you get a little bit overhand, I would say. Sometimes you would spend a little bit more than what you maybe planned, which is fine. You're here to enjoy and support the local economy. But when you're living in Jamaica, you really have to be on top of your game, because living in Jamaica can be very expensive. It depends where you live, if you choose to live on the countryside or in a city. The main reason I'm talking about budgeting is because living in Jamaica can be very tempting. Like if you live here, you would wish to every weekend to go to a different guest house and live that lifestyle where you just travel around and drive on, sail on yacht or whatever. But if you're not on top of your game and you're not doing your budgeting, you're just going to end up having fun and that money just blows away and you don't know where it's gone, So just be prepared to that and prepare yourself. If you are here traveling before you actually move to Jamaica, take the time, go to the supermarket, check how much things cost, just to kind of try to understand what it would be when you actually live here. And of course, all of the big bills and the big payments, you have to also check that ahead if you actually choose to live. So to summarize it all, traveling and living in Jamaica, both of them are two great experiences, but very different from each other. I definitely recommend you to travel to Jamaica before you move to Jamaica. But if you have any questions or you're feeling like you need a little bit more advice from a person who has been through that, you can always contact me through my website, Instagram, whatever way you choose. And I would love to give you a piece of advice. So that's it, guys. Thank you for watching. This episode was really about the difference between traveling and living in the island. Of course, I recommend both. You can definitely contact me if you have any questions, and I would love to consult you and give you an idea of what it is traveling here or living in the island. Don't forget to subscribe and put a comment below so I can hear what you guys think about the video and if you have any other points you want to add. Also, don't forget to share this video with a friend, because you know that this is some essential information about the island. So yeah, stay safe Keep yourself blessed and just see you next episode.